VikesNow. I am Dustin Baker, and we are, 19 days away from the NFL draft? Probably 18 by the time most of you guys and gals are watching this. I have a first-time guest on tonight. His name is Eric Horstman. He's a Vikings fan. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Doing well, Dustin. Appreciate you having me on. Excited to, kind of just talk through all the craziness that, this off season's been so far, and it's not even close to being over. So,
No, we have a huge crescendo in 18 days, and I still cannot. I keep telling my wife, I was like, you think I'm excited for week one? I was like, wait until that Wednesday. It's going to feel like Christmas. And I'm trying not to be like a
yes,
big homer and exaggerate it, but for Vikings
right.
football, my God, that's going to be a huge, it's like Christmas Eve,
Oh
Thursday
yeah.
morning will feel like. All right. So like I said, first time guest, which is fantastic. I've invited you open forum on Saturday nights. We're trying to expand this late night segment. Whenever you want to
Yeah.
come on, you hit my line. Foremost, let's
All
learn
right.
about you.
Sure.
How did you find the Vikings? Tell me where that fandom came from, and what
Yeah.
other biographical tidbits you want to tell the audience.
Yeah. So, I get to blame my kind of childhood best friend, I suppose. Since about the age of 5, went to the same elementary school, daycare, stuff like that. Um, his whole family were still are, but we're Vikings fans. He's kind of the main person that I was always hanging out with as a kid, everything like that. So um, just decided, you know what, since
Mm-hmm.
everybody, or all of them are Vikings fans, I'm just gonna kind of jump on that bandwagon with them. My dad is a Cowboys fan, so he was
Okay.
not thrilled that I chose to go a different direction there. I think for as much heartbreak and all the fun things that come along with being a Vikings fan, I still would uh, glad I made that choice rather than being a
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy fan. Kind of is what it is there, but that's really no, I guess, special reason other than that. And then just stuck with it since
The cow.
I guess age of 5. So
Right
no
on.
turning back now. Yeah,
The Cowboys, I know they have a much more celebrated history than the Vikings, and that's great for them.
right,
But I swear to God, in the last since 1996, they are the Vikings. Like it's so weird.
it's
They
true.
tease you, and they don't even get to the NFC Championship. The Vikings
No,
at least do that, and it's
right.
really weird. Hey, what era was that when you were hanging out with the friend and then you got hooked?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So I don't remember 98,
Okay,
even though I have the Carter Moss 98 shirt here. Um, I would say about 2000. So kind of the first real disappointment or
yeah,
big game that I remember is the 41 donut against the Giants. That was
okay.
like a you know
Initiation.
pretty much, yeah. So I missed the really big heartbreaker there with 98, but
hmm
I still feel like you know
Yeah,
kind of
I'd
own
say
that anyway. But
25
yeah,
years is enough for you to
yeah,
be
yeah.
rightfully ingrained. A fun fact about me in that Giants game, it's the only Vikings game in history that I've turned off. I was only, let's
Okay.
see, sophomore or junior in high school, and my mom, my stepdad, we just turned that bastard off. Like they were so
Yeah,
lifeless, and I've never done that.
yeah,
There's plenty of basketball games I've given up on because basketball is a
sure.
little bit different with the 82 games. But I've never just said, you know what, screw this Vikings game. I'm done watching it. And that was the only one. And oh my goodness.
Yeah,
When you were talking
yeah,
about latching onto a friend, I
yeah.
think that I'm going to be able to do that because for the first, like from the moment US Bank opened in 2016 until last year, my wife and I would go to every game. We had 2 season tickets. Well, my son got really interested during the 2021 season. So I bought
Yeah.
an extra batch of 4. So we've always got this awkward number. I'm going to guess that as my son gets older, we're going to be able to bring one of his friends along consistently. And I'm hoping we do
Yep.
exactly what that kid did to you. I'm hoping we can indoctrinate some
Yes,
other kid for better or for worse.
absolutely. Yep, I was gonna say, yep. Hopefully he has a little bit better experience,
Yeah,
but hey, you know what? It'll be all right.
that's the
We all
goal.
live
All right.
through it.
Let's jump into some of the Vikings content stuff. So to get a
Yeah.
drop on kind of your portfolio on the Vikings, it seemed to me from your Twitter thumbprint that you were a little paranoid that Justin Jefferson might leave. Is that a fair assessment, or did I read that wrong?
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty fair in it, in picking that up. I probably made it a little more, bigger of a deal on Twitter than I actually feel about it.
Yeah.
Just from the way obviously Kwesi and O'Connell talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody knows what kind of a player and person he is. Like, I don't think that they would ever get to the point where they would have to let him go or be fine with moving on. And I feel like for as much discourse as there is on Twitter about ownership is too involved or this and that,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's one where they probably will get involved too. Like, we can't be the ones that let him go after Moss and Harvin and all Diggs,
All of them.
all of them, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
yeah. If it wasn't for those past experiences, I probably wouldn't give it a second thought. But it's
Yeah.
like that Venn diagram that makes its way around when anything bad happens. It's like people who have nice things, Vikings fans, and will never mesh. So kind of just when all that was really, I guess, picking up steam, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just first natural reaction is like, well, it makes sense, right? It's probably
Mm-hmm.
going to happen to us.
That's fair.
But I don't think it happens. I've kind of calmed down on that. Like,
Okay.
part of me is like, just pay him whatever he wants, right? Like, keep
Yeah.
him around. Obviously, there is a limit. You got to build the team, and after the last 6 years of you can't pay a quarterback and a receiver and build your team and everything, yeah, you can't pay him $50 million a year, at
Mm-hmm.
least, I guess, hitting the cap that large of a number. But I feel like you kind of got to make him happy. He's one of those players. Like, please keep him around. Like, especially if what I think we're going to do, in the draft is go up and get a rookie quarterback. You get rid of him. I mean, I'm sorry, that is the biggest part of what's hopefully going to make that rookie successful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't get rid of him, just please.
Yeah.
My final plea, but yeah.
I've got a cousin named Jill who lives in Baltic, South Dakota. Hi, Jill. She is a diehard Vikings fan, and every 3 or 4 days, she'll see some bullshit article from Clutch Points or Heavy.com that really gets funky with the title and says,
Right.
trade for just blah, blah, blah. And she's like, is this real? And I always have to tell her no. So the reason that I believe that anything trade Jefferson, although you're ultra correct about Harvin, about Moss, about Diggs, the reason, if Kirk Cousins would have been re-signed, I might be right there with you with a little paranoia, because then the dollars get squeezed and you start to realize.
Right.
But I have looked at this now since Kwesi Adofo-Mensah took over. I really think that this offseason was always the breaking point with Kirk. I think they wanted a 2-year audition to say, hey, can you be Stafford? Can we go do this thing?
Right.
And then it didn't work. And I think this is just really convenient timing that now they're going to draft this guy that we're about to talk about. And you can marry that guy for cheap for 5 years with Jefferson, with 4 more years of Addison, with 3 more years, 4 more years of Hawkinson. And you're just going to have offensive nirvana. And so if Kirk was back and he got his $45 million from the Vikings, I probably would listen a little bit more to the trade Jefferson stuff, because that money, the Chiefs proved that you can't keep Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. The Packers proved you can't keep Rodgers and Devontae. It's really tricky. But I think I've become so convinced that this Jefferson thing is going to get done that I've even wondered if Cousins was even remotely a candidate to come back, because I thought maybe they put like an offer on the table that was insulting, like 28, 29, 30 million. And of course he was going to turn that down, because it just feels like if you're going to have a progressive new young regime and their version of a rebuild is re-signing Kirk Cousins every season, it just doesn't seem to mesh. So I completely understand the historical paranoia and anxiety about trading the sweetest wide receiver in the league, but I think we're going to be all right there. But you mentioned the draft, and we would be absolutely remiss if we didn't talk about the draft on a show like this. And so for every guest that I have for the next 18 days, they're getting pounded heavily on recommendation and prediction. So here's what I'm going to start with you, my friend. What is your preferred draft outcome for the Vikings? And you can get as funky as you want. You can go first round through 7th round. Just give me one pick, whatever you want to do. What is your preferred draft outcome for this purple team?
Sure. So, kind of going to go with the masses here. Obviously, I want a quarterback, right?
Mhm.
I want a top rookie quarterback. I know it hasn't worked out in the past, but I don't know if we can really call Ponder or any of the other failed attempts, really a top quarterback. So I'm excited for that. You know, hopefully we're not going to be at 11 or close to top 10 anything
Mhm.
again anytime soon. So, you know, wishful thinking there. But yeah, I mean, I'm on team trade up. I mean, would like to not, I guess, completely sell everything.
Mhm.
Going in to 2025, obviously that first round pick's probably gonna be necessary, no matter whether it's Drake May, McCarthy, and maybe everything on McCarthy is just being overblown. And again, you can't really believe anything you hear at this point
Mhm.
in the off season. So it's trying to just take everything with a grain of salt, I suppose. But um, yeah, I would say do what it takes to trade up. Would love to get to 3. I'm with you. I want Drake May.
Okay.
Um, you know, I really haven't watched a ton of any of his film games, anything, right? It's just kind of following along at
Mhm.
the other aggregators that are able to post videos and stuff like that. And but yeah, I think, to be cliche, he does check a lot of those boxes, right? He's got the size, arm talent, can make so many throws, everything like that. That's the type of or I guess prospect that I would
Mhm.
love for them to take a chance on. I think O'Connell probably couldn't be a better match for somebody like that, or McCarthy as well. He
Mhm.
seems like he's a guy that can at least run the offense efficiently, everything like that. But I feel like May has the potential to be a little bit more of like a kind of a game changer, difference maker, sort of. I guess that's just kind of my feel on it as of now. Um, the volume is there, I guess, as far as passing attempts and everything like that. So yeah, you give him. I mean, top 3. I know Addison's going into year 2, but I
Mhm.
would probably call them a top 3 receiving duo, or already. And
Yeah.
like they always get left out, or they want to make things a trio. Like, who's got the best trio, in the league right now? And it's like, well, I don't know, Brandon Powell probably doesn't count, but again,
Mhm.
Jefferson and Addison are just a fantastic, situation to kind of come into. And then Hawkinson, when he comes back healthy, and the line, I feel like, got probably a little worse with not re-signing Reisner at this point. Not really sure what the deal is there. Would have liked to see him back, I think. But like, obviously we don't see what goes on behind the scenes with practice with Brandell, if that's kind of the route that they're gonna
Mhm.
go. Hopefully, if it is, hopefully that's works out for him. Whether, I guess, for Sam or the rookie at whatever point he comes in. So yeah, long story short, trade up, get your guy, like, let's roll, see what happens.
Yeah.
I've been
The
waiting long enough, so
Yeah, I hear you. The reason that I am so in this show, not just me, I think everybody besides Thor Nystrom who's been on this show is Drake May, and
yep,
I'll be
yep,
happy with McCarthy. That's Thor's guy.
yeah,
The reason I want Drake May is the same reason I wanted Stroud last year. When you almost
hmm,
do like a tally or a spreadsheet of all of these guys' weaknesses. With CJ Stroud, the only thing I could ever find from anybody was he went to Ohio State and therefore he's not
right,
going to translate. And I'm like, really? Like, I
yep.
get it that
Scout
no.
the helmet.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
I guess to some degree, some have said that about North Carolina and Drake May. But the only thing I can ever find about Drake May when I watch it or when I read the list of criticisms is he's got to get better with his footwork. And I'm like, well, no shit.
sure.
That's what
Yeah,
happens when you get to the pros.
right,
And so he's not going to be 25 like Hendon Hooker last year. He's not
right.
going to be, and he's in fact almost just as young as McCarthy. I think they're like 6 months apart.
Yeah,
He's got the size. He can throw the thing. I think he'd classify him as mobile. He's not like
yeah,
mobile like Lamar Jackson, but he's mobile kind of like Aaron Rodgers was, or
right.
when he was 26 or so. So yeah, that's why I think that Drake May will do everything that the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell want to do, and it's just so fascinating and neat that his high school coach is the quarterback coach of Vikings. I hope that's
Yeah,
cerebral. I hope that is chess. On
Yes.
the prediction, the recommendation part, you're in agreement that Drake May is the guy, and it doesn't sound like you'll be disappointed with McCarthy if that is the other option. But what about your prediction when we're chilling on Thursday night, midnight? If some of us are still awake, what will the Vikings have done if you had to gamble on this?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I feel like you said, you get Josh McCown in here. I don't know, just makes too much sense, right? And then having Darnold, who played with McCown, like they're just getting every every possible quarterback in any room that they've been in, just to kind of fill out the Vikings quarterback room. So, I guess my prediction as of now, and obviously the Patriots may not, they may think the same thing. No offer is enough, but I do think we get up to 3. I feel like they're going to do what it takes. If obviously, if there's an offer that New England will accept, I feel like they will do that to go get May. I would say like 60-40. I'm probably there. The other 40 is, I would guess, up to 5 with the Chargers for McCarthy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the fallback, I guess, option in my mind right now. Again, definitely would not be disappointed with that. Not the preferred option. And you hope you don't have to maybe give up quite as much to get to 5 for McCarthy.
That's the beauty of it.
Right. And so it's like, if you can save some of those picks for next year, that would be awesome. But I feel like I would be okay with not having a first round or next year, or I guess, I don't know if I think they've got a third round next year. I know we don't this year, but
they're gonna have a few.
If they had to give up, plus round picks, I suppose. Well, pick maybe now. I don't know how all that the formula's kind of going right now, but I think it'd be worth it to give up a little bit more for May. Hopefully, you don't have to give up quite so much for McCarthy. That's my only concern, is like if you have to, I guess, give up the exact same capital for McCarthy, because if New England won't accept something, that would, I guess, be my only like reservation with that, because I don't, just, I guess, in my opinion, think he's quite or the potential isn't quite as high there. But again, we'll be happy with that. Get somebody who can make. I still think he can make most of the throws, especially in O'Connell's offense. He can run it efficiently, right? Like, you get a Brock Purdy. I mean, they didn't win the Super Bowl, right? But if you can get a guy who's maybe another step above someone like that, get a really good team around him. Our defense isn't quite to the level of San Francisco by any means, but $100 million in salary or cap space next year, we might be able to get a little closer. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Right now, I'm there with you on this show. Let's see, last week I had predictions for April, and I ended the show on the prediction as Drake May at number 3. And the only reason that I could waffle is if you are correct, or the theory is correct in general, that with the Chargers, who for damn sure aren't going to trade the pick that lands J.J. McCarthy to the Broncos or the Raiders, if the Vikings can get him for 2 first-rounders, I'm okay with doing 3 for May, but it might be too irresistible for Kwesi to save next year's pick with the assumption, hey, we're probably going to be 7-10, 6-11, some shit like that. And let's say O'Connell is like, just get me one of them. I can make either one of them work. Kwesi might marry the compromise and say, all right, I'm getting you McCarthy. We're only spending 2 first-rounders and maybe some 4th down the road. We get to maintain this precious first-rounder next year. That's the only reason that I can't go full tilt on the May prediction. His Kwesi seems like he's constantly looking for the value while still being bold. I mean, the dude trades for TJ Hawkinson with a rival right in the middle of the season. Right. So it's not like he's gun shy, trigger shy. I might settle on McCarthy as the prediction when we get to like the Tuesday before the draft, but that's only because I have this angel and the devil on my shoulder that says like, God, if you can only give up 2 first, then that's what they'll do. You talked about free agency next year. The Vikings still have a little bit of a piggy bank this year who's a free agent still left out there, whether it's a WR3, a defensive tackle, another cornerback, anything. Who should they still target if you want to narrow it down to one or two players?
Sure. So I was all on board the Christian Wilkins train here. I got my hopes up so high that to me it kind of just seemed like we're getting this guy, foregone conclusion, right? And then Las Vegas, just that offer was insane. Glad we didn't do that, right? I mean, again, would have been nice. And it's kind of disappointing that it feels like every other defensive tackle, signing elsewhere, like, oh well, the Vikings tried, like they were in on him. Story of our lives, right? So I would probably go. I'd like to see another defensive tackle. I don't know that there's many guys out there probably that are worth much.
Calais Campbell is the only big name one.
I know, and but he's 30, 39 almost.
But he never slows down.
I know.
Yeah, so you go pull up his
it's probably worth it. But
yeah, you pull up his stat header, his PFF, you're thinking, oh, I'm sure this guy has only started 2 games. No, he's a consistent starter and he's always good. I just don't know if he wants to play for a team with Sam Darnold or a rookie quarterback.
True. Yeah, at this point, I feel like it's find some contender and hope it works out. Only because of the Flores kind of connection. I think there was some overlap there. The Lawrence guy, I know he's kind of getting. I think he's like 34, so he's getting up there as well. And I don't have PFF, to see, I guess, as far as how he graded out this year. But again, I guess if for no other reason, depth. I feel like it's a guy you've heard of, not a huge name, but was fairly successful with the Patriots. I feel like has the Flores tie there. Again, maybe that's a dumb wish or want there. But I just feel like, my God, just get somebody, get more bodies. Like they need help, right? Especially interior there. And then I suppose corner. I don't think they will probably sign another free agent corner. Obviously, the obvious one is Xavier Howard. But it seems like the Shaq Griffin deal kind of took care of that. I would love Stephon Gilmore, actually. I think over Howard. A little bit older, but I still think he'd be, great, probably locker room presence, along with bringing Harry back. Be nice to have him. I do think Mekhi Blackman has some good potential. I really did. I was pretty satisfied with how he played as a rookie. I would say most of the year. So just getting someone in that, doesn't have to play every snap, right? But still has the ability, can mentor some of these younger guys, be a good presence there. And then obviously played for Flores in New England as well. So that doesn't hurt anything. Those would be the two guys I would say that are left that I think probably biggest need still, that I wasn't thrilled with how we'd addressed them, I guess, as far as free agency goes. But I think probably both are a little unrealistic at this point. But that's where I'd go if we have to spend some more money. That's probably where I'd like to see it go.
The money is there. So it's not, usually at this time of the off season, or even going into an off season, except for this one, we're usually like, oh shit, we're $4 million underwater. We're like at the Saturday before free agency, figuring out how they're going to get in the green. Well, that wasn't the case
Who's
this
getting
year.
Cut?
Nor will it be the case next year. But
no.
I think it's semi-realistic to talk about Gilmore, for example, or Howard. I would prefer Gilmore too. And the cool thing about that is, let's say we're right. Let's say, hey, our phones buzz Monday and it's Stephon Gilmore to the Vikings. You go from either right now from some folks or 3 weeks ago with a cornerback room that you're like, ugh, gross. But if your cornerback room is Stephon Gilmore, Byron Murphy, Shaquille Griffin, Mekhi Blackman, and then just as complementary pieces, Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth, one of those guys probably even make the team. That's actually a good cornerback room. Like, it's not like you don't have a showstopper like an absolute Jalen Ramsey. But if they got one more guy like that, especially Gilmore, who played well for the Cowboys and played all 17 games, the reason because they're not going to have the draft capital unless they stick and pick with Penix. They're not going to have the draft capital to draft a cornerback, a CB. And so right now we're going, yeah, I'm looking at it going, we can make this work as is. I mean, it's decent with Murphy and Shaq Griffin and Mekhi Blackman. But if you go get Gilmore, then all of a sudden, I think you'd look at the roster and be like, there's a little bit of depth here as well, gentlemen. Yeah. That's how I'd feel about it. So I agree that it's probably unlikely that they would get Shaquille Griffin and Gilmore, or Shaquille Griffin and Xavier Howard. But they have the money for it, and then they have that beautiful parallel to Brian Flores. It always seems like when you go to free agency, it's like, hey, O'Connell cross paths with this guy, or hey, Kwesi worked with this free agent in San Francisco or Cleveland, or hey, Flores. Yeah, so it's really cool that we have all those ties. All right, my friend, you have any closing arguments before we log off for the weekend?
I don't think so. I know, I guess, kind of a topic we didn't quite get to. I do think it was time to move on from Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
It took, it kind of ran its course. I think they realized, like, yeah, he is good, right? Very good, but it's 6 years. They had a couple cracks out of Zimmer, had plenty, probably too many. It was time. I mean, right, coming off that injury, 36. Yeah, so I'm fine with that. Like it's going to be weird, right? Not having like a stable presence there. But yeah, so I was on board with that. Hunter, I don't really feel like I was ready to let him go yet. Happy about Grenard. I hope it works out right. Get a little younger, a little more, I guess maybe speed, kind of juice, I guess, out of that. But I mean, Hunter's just a monster. So that one was a little tough. I don't think I was ready to move on from him. So, but yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I've got. Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, happy to be, come back on more Saturdays and so yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Right. Well, you let me know because Brevin, who's usually on as my co-host, he double booked himself a WrestleMania party tonight, and he was like, "Oh shit, I can't make it." And I was like, "Well, we'll survive." So you let me know. We got an open forum here Saturdays. We're going to be talking to some other fans in these coming weeks. Kind of have a roundtable. At that, you let me know whenever you're available, and we can go through some of these Vikings takes. It'll be draft and quarterback heavy for the next 2.5 weeks, but after that, we can resume team building. All right, my friend, it was nice to meet you, and we'll see you on this show soon. All right.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dustin.
Yeah, take it easy.